Hello, everyone. Welcome to the sleep hygiene presentation on sleep science and sleep hygiene. Today, we're going to review the effects of insufficient sleep, describe what sleep is and the science of sleep, proper sleep hygiene, and ways to cope. So, we're all sleepy. Sleep is viewed as compressible. Some nights we can be like, oh, we'll just stay up and do work and sleep 4 hours, or I don't need to sleep. I can just do this instead, which is fair, but affects us significantly. Utah ranks 10th in the nation for insufficient sleep, so it's a public health epidemic. Estimated 50 to 70 million U.S. adults suffer from chronic sleep and wakefulness disorders, according to the CDC. 1 in 4 report insufficient sleep or rest at least 15 out of the 30 days of the month, which is huge, right? I mean, reflecting back on yourself, looking at these past couple of weeks, have you felt tired every day? I mean, has tired become the new normal? Ages 18 through 54 more likely to report insufficient sleep. And this is relevant to this industry, right, the tech industry, because the average age is 41.9 years. Women reported higher than men for lack of sleep. There are some ideas of why women have to take care of us men. Just kidding. It's a bunch of different factors, but women do report higher than men. Science, we spend a third of our lives doing it, which is a lot of time, and sleep isn't the only state of not being awake, right? It's a complex, multi-directional, and bidirectional state, meaning what we do during the day affects our sleep, and how we sleep affects what happens during the day. It's very mysterious, enigmatic. Sleep significantly affects our bodies. We can live longer without food than we can without sleep. And it's not until these past 30 years have we really found out and studied more about why we need sleep and what sleep really is. 7 to 9 hours per night are needed for optimal function. There are people out there that say they can rely on 4 to 5 hours of sleep to get them through the day, but there's only a certain amount of individuals throughout the world, like a very small percentage, I think it's like 1 to 2%, who have the mutated DEC2 gene, which can help you with optimal function running on 4 hours of sleep. But everybody else, they're just you just lose sight of how it's affecting them daily. Like sleep deprivation has become a new normal. So the widespread effects. Now, sleep affects us in all different areas, right? It affects our mood. Maybe you might get a little bit more snappy, irritable, motivated. Screw work, I'm tired. Anxiety, so managing stress. And if you can't manage your stress, it can lead to sleep loss. And then symptoms of depression. So actually, sleep disturbance is a diagnostic criteria of depression, which is like, whoa. Lack of concentration, like energy, afternoon blues. You might feel tired, later in the day, right? Feel like you just sit down and you fall asleep anywhere you sit. The health, it significantly affects our health. It affects all of our different systems that are in our bodies. So one night you have acute sleep loss equals increase in high blood pressure in a group of males that was in the study for the rest of the next day, which is crazy. Obesity, it plays a huge role in hormone regulation, especially the hunger hormones and insulin. Heart attack rate goes up. Diabetes, if you get less than 5 hours of sleep, you're 2.5 times more likely to develop diabetes. And basically, if you don't sleep as much, then you won't live as long. So age-specific mortality. And this is just a graph showing all these different things that we do, right? Like remembering, concentrating, working on hobbies, performing work, volunteer work, taking care of financial affairs, and showing the percentage of people who find it difficult, whether they get less than 7 hours or between 7 and 9 hours of sleep. As you can see, right, in all different areas, if you get less than 7 hours of sleep, it has a big effect, especially with concentrating. Now, widespread effects, this is the everyone version. So the U version, this, sleep deprivation can affect yourself, but sleep deprivation can also be harmful for other people. Like 168 million people said they have driven drowsy, and 103 million of those people said they have fallen asleep at the wheel, which is scary. thinking that, we drive to work every day and there are people out there who have fallen asleep. And it contributes to 10 to 30% of all crashes. The big question is, have you ever fallen asleep at the wheel? There's instances where, you fall asleep. You have micro bursts of sleep for like 2-3 seconds while you're driving, and during those 2-3 seconds, it can be the difference between driving straight and going into the barrier. I mean, that's scary. People who sleep 6-7 hours a night are 2 times more likely to crash. Any less than that, and you basically double your chances of crashing. Impacts work performance. So 29% of people said they fell asleep at work. Now, if you have, just don't tell anybody. 1 in 4 workers said drowsiness caused work performance decrease. I mean, I think we've all felt this. And of course, deleterious health consequences. Getting less than 7 hours of sleep per night affects the cardiovascular, neurological, the endocrine system, affects every area of our body. So you can sort of see why, how significant sleep really is to us. And of course, the greater the sleep deficit, the greater the adverse effect on these different systems. So we're going to go into some stages and why we need sleep, or why scientists have found that we need sleep. So we have 3 basic stages of consciousness. We have wakefulness, which is, I think, what we all are now watching this, or me talking. 2 is non-REM. So we have N1, N2, N3, and then we have REM. So N3 and N4. N4 is equal to REM. So those 2 stages are slow wave sleep, our deep cycles of sleep. And REM is an active period marked with increased brain activity and increased rate of breathing, eyes move rapidly, the muscles paralyze, heart rate and blood pressure increase, and this is where the dreams happen. Now, this is also where all the other processes happen, right? So there are some, current evidence out there for some of the reasons why we need sleep. One of them is being memory consolidation. During the day, you have different neurons that are firing in your brain, and during the night, when you enter these slow wave sleep stages, your N3 and REM, those neurons turn off, and these other neurons turn on. And what these neurons are doing is building new connections, moving short-term memory to long-term memory. Lymphatic system activation. So in your body, you have what's called the lymphatic system, which basically carries out metabolic waste to your liver to get processed, but it doesn't innervate your brain. So scientists are like, whoa, if your brain uses, up to 30% of your body's resources, then what's cleaning out that organ? I mean, it's so active, right? And so scientists, they injected a dye into cerebral spinal fluid and watched what happened. And overnight, when you enter these deep stages of sleep, the spinal fluid goes through and takes away the metabolic wastes that are produced by your brain. So when you don't sleep a lot, you don't get the waste cleared out. And then, of course, for recharge and repair, other speculations are, when we sleep, that's the time when our body's least active. This is when the repair happens. Our cells repair themselves and whatnot. So, huge role, right? And then this just goes over sort of like the different areas. So sleep affects your cardiovascular system. During sleep, your blood pressure and heart rate actually lowers by 10 to 20%. And then, of course, lack of sleep has been associated with CVD, which is cardiovascular disease, hypertension, and diabetes mellitus. It's like basically type 2 diabetes. Sleep has been a mystery for thousands of years. Sleep and the respiratory system go hand in hand. OSA, or obstructive sleep apnea, is very serious, and it's something that should be checked on. If you notice that your significant other, maybe stops breathing for a short period of time during the night and then wakes themselves up, or just like gasp, or maybe excessive snoring. So look up the symptoms, and maybe if you see some of this going on, or maybe you feel some of this, maybe you're sleeping 8-9 hours a night and you wake up and you're sluggish. Next time you go get your physical with your doctor, pick your brain about it and ask them, because obstructive sleep apnea can be fatal. And then, of course, sleep plays a big role in hormone production. So HGH, which is human growth hormone, is produced during slow wave sleep. And this hormone plays plays a huge role in the building process for your body and the repair process, and it doesn't get produced if you don't get the amount of sleep that you need. And then ghrelin and leptin are also affected, and these two are the hunger hormones. So ghrelin is a growing, right? Ghrelin growing your hunger. That's what ghrelin does. And leptin is the hormone that makes you feel full. Now, when you have lack of sleep, your ghrelin levels are elevated, meaning you get hungry more often. You might find yourself snacking more, and it takes a little bit longer for you to feel full. And then, of course, the mechanisms are still sort of a mystery, but it also affects insulin sensitivity as well, meaning if you don't get enough sleep throughout the night, the next day, you can be slightly insulin resistant, sort of like someone who's pre-diabetic, which is scary. Now, what are some things we can do? Sleep hygiene, right? We can sort of do stuff throughout the day that can lead us to a better night's rest. So step one is during the daytime. Wake up at the same time every day. So for the weekend sleep warriors, people like to sleep in, sorry, you have to wake up early, all right? Or wake up at least at the same time. Physical activity, which is pretty much a no-brainer, right? When we're active throughout the day and we've gone through like hard workout or gone through like a long hike, during that nighttime, you fall asleep before your head even hits the pillow. This shows a 65% improvement in sleep quality if you get 150 minutes a week of moderate intensity physical activity. Whoa. Exercise is cool. And moving. Napping, try to nap 30 minutes or less. Stress can play a huge role in how well you sleep, so manage your stress, get organized, accomplish daily tasks, and set priorities. And postprandial somnolence, aka the dreaded food coma. So that's just another geeky way of saying it. So what you can do is you can avoid high glycemic index foods around lunch. High glycemic index means that there's more glucose readily available out of those foods. So this happens because when you eat carbohydrates, such as something that's high glycemic, you have an insulin response in your body, and insulin produces the absorption of, a couple of different amino acids, and then once those amino acids are absorbed, there's really only one main one left in your bloodstream, which is called tryptophan. And now, since that's the one that's mostly in your bloodstream, your brain is going to absorb that through the blood-brain barrier. That gets into your brain, converts to serotonin. Serotonin converts to melatonin through a very complex process. Melatonin makes you feel sleepy. So that's how food coma works. Step 2, before you go to bed, sleep at the same time. Right? So just like waking up at the same time, you want to sleep at the same time so that you don't shift your circadian rhythm and your sleep cycle. Now, limit the food, drink, and physical activity. So, don't go to bed super hungry, but don't go to bed stuffed either. Sort of like the idea of you drink water in and you move your stomach, you can feel it sloshing around. Well, when you lay down, you might feel that, which can be uncomfortable and lead you to not falling asleep easily. Nicotine and caffeine effects can last for hours. So, good rule of thumb is just don't have any after 12. If you have nicotine, maybe resort to, trying to get off smoking or relying on tobacco. Alcohol counts as well. Ritual. So have a ritual that you do every day before you go to sleep. This sort of signals your body like, hey, this is when I start winding down. This is when I start relaxing, and this is when I start, preparing to go to bed. So this can be a warm bath, soothing music, reading, maybe just laying there, sitting in your chair or something until you calm your body down and your mind, most importantly. And then, of course, avoid blue light. So blue light can suppress melatonin. Your cell phone light is 200 luxes, which is super bright, and all it takes is 8 luxes to suppress it. You can have a app on your phone that can filter out blue light, so that the new iPhones and Androids have it. Windows 10 also has that, but that's only half the battle. Remember, blocking out the blue light is great, but you have to try to minimize the amount of stimulus that you're getting. So if you're turning off the blue light and you're watching an action movie on Netflix, that doesn't exactly help you fall asleep either. So it's best to just, do something that's mellow and calming before you go to bed, and avoid blue light at the same time. And then step 3, during sleep, optimal sleep is 7 to 9 hours. you got to find out what's best for you. Be comfortable. 65 degrees is usually the average best temperature for people to fall asleep. And make sure you have a good mattress and pillow. Proper room etiquette, so make sure the room is dark, cut the lights, limit the bedroom only to bedroom activities, which is not exercise, computer, TV, or work materials. Okay? Then, of course, if you're not tired, get up for 15 minutes. You don't want to associate your bed with a place where, as soon as you lay down, that's where you start thinking about stress. So if you can't sleep or your mind starts wandering, get up out of bed and maybe go back to your ritual. Stuff happens. Now, this is stuff without the last F, okay? Not the other word that you might be thinking of. Caffeine, it's America's number one stimulant drug. 75 milligrams to 150 can improve alertness. For example, an 8-ounce cup of coffee is 80 to 175, so that's perfect, but just don't get too much. Repay the sleep debt. So throughout the week, if you're lacking sleep, for example, if you need 7 hours per night, but you're only getting 5, and you do that 5 nights a week, that's 10 hours of sleep debt that you just accrued. Now, we can't really ever repay that debt unless you're sleeping a total of 10 hours more over the weekend, right? So make sure you get enough sleep every night. And you can also take what's called a prophylactic nap, which is another geeky term for a daytime nap, and that can help decrease some of the effects. And then make sure you keep it 30 minutes or less, which can boost alertness. If you go any more than that, you can go into the later stages of sleep, which can lead to grogginess or sleep inertia. And here are the references. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Hopefully you guys learned something. And shoot me a message on Slack or email, or come into the fitness center if you have any questions. Thanks.